I look at London, where you have a terrible mayor, terrible mayor, and it's been so changed. Now they want to go to Sharia law.
I think President Trump has shown he is racist, he is sexist, he is misogynistic, and he's...
30 seconds of silence filled the UN hall. World leaders sat frozen, unsure how to react. Then Donald Trump leaned forward and delivered 6 words that would shift the entire atmosphere. London has a terrible mayor. Right there, in front of representatives from 193 nations. Trump singled out Sadiq Khan by name. The hall went completely silent. Cameras stopped moving. This was not careful diplomacy. It was raw, personal. And if that moment shocked you, the events of the next 72 hours were even more astonishing. Stay tuned, because this story runs deeper than most reports revealed. It was 2:47 p.m. Eastern Time that Tuesday afternoon when it happened. Trump was halfway through his UN speech. Up until then, he had been reading from his prepared remarks, but suddenly, he veered off script into what his aides would later call unscripted commentary. The teleprompter kept rolling, but Trump wasn't following it anymore. Looking straight into the cameras, he declared, "I look at London, where you have a terrible mayor. Terrible mayor. The city is not safe. The numbers don't lie. Crime is up, people are leaving, and nobody wants to talk about why." The room stirred immediately. The Brazilian delegation began whispering among themselves. France's ambassador quietly set down his pen. Even the usually composed German representatives exchanged uneasy glances. In 45 years of UN sessions, no one had ever witnessed something quite like this. But Trump was far from finished. He pressed on. When a major Western city cannot protect its own citizens, when elected officials make excuses instead of solutions, the world notices. We all notice. Then came the real shock. Trump pulled out his phone. Yes, in the middle of a UN address, and began reading. Statistics live on camera before every world leader. Knife crime in London up 15% this year. Violent robberies up 22%. Tourist safety warnings from 6 different countries. These aren't my numbers. These are official British government numbers. The silence that followed was absolute. Khan's team actually learned about Trump's comments before the mayor himself did. By 3:15 p.m., his press secretary was already handling calls from nearly every major news outlet. Just 15 minutes later, at 3:30 p.m., social media had erupted. By 4 p.m., Khan was in his office at City Hall, replaying the clip again and again. What unfolded next says a great deal about modern politics. Instead of addressing the statistics Trump cited, Khan immediately launched into character attacks. Within 2 hours, he issued a statement labeling Trump's remarks as racist, divisive, and outright false. He accused the former president of using London as nothing more than a political football to score points with American audiences. But here's what Khan didn't do. He didn't challenge the crime statistics. He didn't explain the tourism warnings. He didn't clarify why his approval rating had slipped to 43%, the lowest since he first took office. Rather than confront the numbers, he tried to discredit Trump personally and assumed the public wouldn't bother checking for themselves. That proved to be a serious miscalculation, because within hours of Khan's statement, something remarkable began happening across British social media. The hashtag #CheckTheNumbers started trending, and it wasn't driven by Trump, loyalists, or conservative activists. It came from everyday Londoners who decided to verify the claims on their own. What they discovered was troubling. Data from the Metropolitan Police confirmed knife crime had indeed risen 15% year-over-year. Figures from the Office for National Statistics backed up the robbery numbers. The tourism advisories were also real, issued by Australia, Canada, Japan, and 3 other countries, warning citizens about safety risks in central London. One post in particular captured the moment. Sarah Mitchell, a 34-year-old nurse from Hackney, tweeted late that night at 11:47 p.m. "I hate that Trump is right about anything, but I checked the Met Police website. The numbers are real. My street alone had 3 muggings this month. When did we stop talking about this?" Her message struck a nerve, amassing 127,000 retweets in just 18 hours. By Wednesday morning, radio and phone-in shows across Britain were inundated. Callers weren't political operatives. They were teachers, shop owners, parents, and retirees, all echoing a similar sentiment. "I can't believe I'm agreeing with Trump," but even James O'Brien of LBC Radio, well known for his fierce criticism of Trump, admitted live on air, "I've spent the morning going through these statistics, and I have to say they're largely accurate. The real issue wasn't whether Trump's numbers were correct, it was why London's own mayor wasn't addressing them. By Thursday, the political establishment knew they had a problem on their hands. 3 major newspapers had already run fact checks. The Times of London published a piece titled "Uncomfortable Truths in Trump's London Attack." The Telegraph followed with the crime statistics Khan doesn't want to discuss. Even The Guardian, usually hostile toward Trump, ran an article bluntly asking, "Beyond the rhetoric, what do the numbers really show?" All 3 investigations landed on the same conclusion. Trump's statistics were largely accurate, though his framing was politically charged. But the blow that hurt the most came not from Trump, nor from the media, but from Khan's own backyard. That same Thursday, the London Assembly released its quarterly crime report. The timing was coincidental, but the optics couldn't have been worse. The data showed public confidence in London's safety had plummeted to its lowest point in 10 years. 2/3 of Londoners admitted they avoided certain neighborhoods after dark. Tourism in central London had dropped 8% compared to the previous year. Susan Hall, Khan's chief political rival, seized the moment. "These aren't Trump's numbers," she said. "They're ours. This is London's own data proving that people feel less safe than ever." The mayor can dismiss Trump's personality, but he can't dismiss his own statistics. When confronted, Khan questioned the report's methodology and claimed the figures were being used as a political weapon. That's when even loyal supporters began to look uneasy. David Lammy, Labour MP and close Khan ally, warned colleagues behind closed doors that the mayor was fighting the wrong battle. Instead of defending his leadership with facts and presenting solutions, Khan had allowed himself to be dragged into a personality feud with Trump. And that, Lammy said, was a contest no one could ever win. But Khan pressed on. Friday morning, he sat down on Good Morning Britain. For 12 minutes, he spoke not about London's rising crime or safety concerns, but about Trump's supposed obsession with him. He cracked jokes about living rent-free in Trump's head and claimed Trump was jealous of London's diversity. What he didn't do was just as important. He didn't announce new safety policies. He didn't release counter data. He didn't lay out a plan to calm public fears. And that's when it backfired, spectacularly. By Friday afternoon, the hashtag #DeKhanOut was trending. Across the UK, it wasn't sparked by right-wing groups or Trump fans. It began with a London mother of 2, Emma Thornton, a 35-year-old social worker from Islington and lifelong Labour voter. She posted, "Voted for Khan twice, can't do it again. Too busy fighting Trump to fight crime. We need leadership, not Twitter wars." Khan out. Her message struck a nerve. Within 24 hours, it had racked up 340,000 likes and spread across every corner of society. Construction workers in Croydon, professors in Camden, young professionals across Zones 2 and 3. And here's what stunned political analysts. The movement wasn't powered by conservative voters. It was Khan's own base, the very people who had carried him to victory twice. Working mothers, ethnic minorities, university graduates were now turning on him. By Saturday, polling company YouGov released an emergency survey. Results were grim. 41% of Londoners said Trump's criticism of Khan was at least partially justified. Among Khan's own 2021 voters, that figure still hit 28%. When more than a quarter of your supporters think your fiercest opponent has a point, your political ground is collapsing. The blow landed hardest on Sunday. On BBC's Sunday Politics, Laura Quinsberg asked Khan a direct question. Setting aside President Trump, are you satisfied with London's current crime trends? Khan spoke for 4 minutes. He mentioned Trump 11 times. He never answered the question. Even commentators usually sympathetic to him looked uneasy. Owen Jones, a well-known left-wing columnist and longtime Khan supporter, summed it up bluntly. The mayor needs to stop making this about Trump and start making it about Londoners' very real safety concerns. Trump won't be president forever, but these crime statistics will follow. Khan into the next election? By Monday morning, the story had moved far beyond Trump versus Khan. The debate had shifted to something far bigger, whether British politicians could take criticism seriously, even when it came from people they disliked. The Conservative Party, initially cautious about being seen as too close to Trump, quickly realized the opening. They began framing Khan's handling of the affair as a symbol of Labour's deeper problems. Their attack line was sharp. If Labour can't handle tough questions from Washington, how can they possibly handle tough decisions in Westminster? But the silence from Labour's own leadership may have been even more damaging. Keir Starmer, pressed 3 separate times in Parliament about Trump's remarks, refused to defend Khan. He didn't openly criticize him either, but his evasion spoke volumes. To political observers, it was clear Labour's leadership didn't see Khan's response as defensible. By Tuesday, just 1 week after Trump's explosive UN comments, the national conversation had completely flipped. Morning talk shows weren't asking whether Trump was right or wrong anymore. They were asking whether Sadiq Khan was the right man to lead. London threw its challenges. The numbers painted a brutal picture. Khan's approval rating fell 7 points in a single week. The Conservative candidate for mayor surged 12 points in early polling. Even worse for Labour. Their London Assembly support dropped to its lowest level since 10. And here's the bitter truth. The real damage wasn't Trump's attack. It was Khan's reaction. Instead of demonstrating resilience and leadership, he fell into political theater. Instead of proving he could handle pressure, he confirmed his critics' worst suspicions. He could throw punches, but he couldn't take them. Instead of disproving Trump, Khan ended up making him look like the adult in the room. That's not just a bad moment, it's a political disaster that stretches far beyond one fiery exchange. And here's the real question. When Londoners head to the polls, what will they remember? Khan's jokes about living rent-free in Trump's head, or the nights they walked home alone, checking crime alerts, wondering why their mayor seemed more focused on sparring with a foreign politician than protecting his own city? That choice will shape more than Khan's career. It could decide whether British politicians finally learn a tough lesson about leadership in the social media age. You can't just attack the messenger when the message rings. True with your own voters. So what do you think? Was Khan right to push back against Trump's comments? Or should he have confronted the underlying problems head-on? Don't just take anyone's word for it. Look up the crime statistics yourself and let us know in the comments what you found. And if you want deeper analysis that cuts through the noise and reveals what these political moments really mean, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell. Because the loudest stories aren't always the most important, but they often reveal the most truth. Thanks for watching.